All right,
Hello, we're back.
welcome to Ep.3 of Pub Politics.
Well, there's no beer today, is there?
Yeah, to be fair, this isn't pub politics, this is picnic politics, mate.
Sandwich politics.
Picnic politics is alliteration now.
Oh yeah,
See,
always alliteration.
that's what fucking GCSE English gets you, mate.
All right.
So yeah, as he says, quite famously, Cuba has a quite a big embargo on it right now.
I don't actually think it's that famous.
I think it is, to be honest. But either way, if you don't know that, now you do. It's quite hard to get your hands on Cuban beer right now. Okay, so instead,
Could have got cigars.
we could have got cigars, but
Don't
Asthma
even.
over
Don't
here said,
even.
"Nah, I can't do that. No fun, honestly, no fun." So instead, I've had to slave away this morning at making Cubano sandwiches.
Slave away.
It's just basically a butty on ciabatta. Nice posh ciabatta for M&S as well, by the way.
What is it?
Yeah.
Do they have
olives
that?
in
Do
it.
they have M&S
With
in
olives in
Cuba?
No. Shut up, man. I mean, sorry, yeah, soft white Cuban bread.
Yeah, there you go.
And then we've got, I also don't have, before any Cubans get in the comments, or you Cubans over there, which will probably struggle to see this because of the blackouts, but I haven't slow roasted a pork shoulder overnight and put it in the sandwich because I have got a life outside of this, to be honest with you. Not much of one, but I have got one. So I didn't have the time to slow cook a shoulder. But they do put that as an
I'm very
addition.
grateful of you making me a sandwich.
Oh my God, he's already complaining.
I'm not complaining, but if it's not Cuban bread and slow roasted pork,
It's in the style of a Cuban sandwich. Obviously,
okay.
I haven't got Cuban ingredients.
All right,
Honestly,
all right.
what am I meant to do? It's gone. The place has gone and back on it, lad. All right, so it's got fried ham in it, cheddar, mustard, and pickles.
All good stuff. So.
All good stuff. So I don't think it can be bad. So
The only controversial one in there is maybe pickles, but I like pickles.
yeah, to be honest with you, this is the first time I've ever had a pickle, like a pickle. I had to go out and get pickles, and I was like, I don't know if I like pickles, but I like them. What the hell is that? Anyway,
Put your mic down, because
yeah, actually, yeah, all the people with that
food
eating
next.
phobia is gonna like kick off. I'm happy with that, lad. Sorry, I'm happy with that, lad.
No, that's fucking good.
Mm.
You know what makes it? The mustard.
I'm gonna sound like a knob here, but I think it's the balance of the mustard with the acidity, with the
Fucking thing.
the acidity of the pickle and the mustard. That is bloody good sandwich, and I
Should
tell
we
you,
just
it'd be
turn it-
better with a slow roast.
Should we just make sandwiches every week?
Honestly, I'm down, to be honest with you. Picnic politics is the new name of this show.
Instead of a beer as a mic, we have a sandwich as a mic.
It might be a bit harder to, make a logo.
AI can do anything.
Well, it can, which is maybe a problem within itself. Anyway, let's move into the first part of the actual podcast. Okay, now we've eaten our sandwiches. Well, half our sandwiches. Cuba, part one. I'm going to go into the historical context. I'm going to try and make this. I've got a lot of notes. I'm going to try and make it a bit more brief because I think this isn't the real guts of the podcast. But I do think it's important to have the context behind all of this stuff in the country of Cuba. So, way back in the day, the Llanos peoples lived in Cuba. Okay, and there was tribes before that who lived there, but the Llanos people pushed North and South American tribes out just before like the 1500s, and they were living in Cuba until the Spanish invade. Okay, so the Spanish invade in 1492. Guess who it was?
From Spain.
This is bad. This, come on, mate.
I know him,
You definitely know him.
and I've forgotten him.
Christopher Columbus.
He's Spanish. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Can't be named Chris.
Famously? I hope so, because if it's not, I'm going to look so dumb. But
Can't-
I'm pretty positive he's Spanish, mate.
No.
Columbia was named after his name? I have no idea if that's true, but if it is, I'll
Well,
pull that out.
surely
my arse.
Colombia would be named Columbus.
Well, no, because whatever. If that's true, let me know. I'm actually gonna have to look that up. By the way, we're meant to have a producer today, but he's late. Classic. So he will be on his way for like the rest of the parts. Also, on that note, while that's going, I'm explaining to this. Just message him to bell you instead of me when he's coming and things, so the thing doesn't go off.
Oh, right. Okay, I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. While he's doing that, you can tell this is very like bootleg, can't you? So Christopher Columbus invades 1492, discovers, even though there's people already living there, and Cuba is then incorporated into the Spanish Empire, with the local native population largely displaced and killed. Often they were just killed by disease or actually murdered. It depends, but the native population were pushed out. They were replaced by Spanish settlers and African slave workers on sugar plantations. And in 1795, there was a slave revolt of sugar workers inspired by the 1791 Haitian Revolution, but it failed. So,
Wonder how they heard of
African
the
slaves in Haiti, they revolted and won against their French colonial settlers, and that inspired one in Cuba, but it failed in Cuba, unfortunately. And then skipping forward a bit, 1830s and 40s, Cuban nationalism began to rise. The British pressured Spain to promise that they would eventually abolish slavery, right? Just promise. Promise that you'll
big promise that.
It is a big promise, isn't it?
Did they keep that promise?
Well, they haven't got it today, have they?
What? Wait. What?
Slavery.
Well, yeah,
in
but
Spain, have they?
Was it a late promise or?
Well, that's the point. There was no time frame of that promise. It was just like
they were literally like,
eventually we'll do it. Which is kind of daft, isn't it? Because if it's just in any time frame, then you can never really say that they're wrong or they're not going to do it.
What you could even say now? We did.
Yeah, if they still had it today, you could say, well, we promise eventually. We will do it eventually. Anyway, yeah, you took into that sandwich, big boy. 1868, the 10 Years' War. I feel like every war lasts 10 years. I swear there's loads, or not 10 years, but like I feel like they're all like, they last like a normal amount of time. Like 5, 10 years or 100 years. 100 years war, 80 years war. Or do they just round? They probably just round up and down, don't they? Don't look at me like that, man. You got mustard.
Have I got mustard? Oh, no.
You've got mustard on your lab coat. It's Breaking Bad reference. But in 1868, the 10 Years' War kicked off. Wealthy planters claimed independence and fought the Spanish, and they were finally defeated. So, unhappy with the truce, a year later, they did begin it's called the Little War, like you. In 1879,
fuck off.
Only
the same
last
size as me. Just more round.
This can't go on like this.
Hang on. Call me shut.
All right, no, come on. Let me finish the Cuban context, bro. Sorry. So unhappy with the truce after the 10 Years' War, they revolted against it in the Little War, which only lasted a year, which is why it's called the Little War. But once again, the Spanish defeated the Cubans.
A year's a long time. We had a 10-day war in Yugoslavia.
Yeah, we did. To be fair. 1886, Spain banned slavery. So they fulfilled their promise, like about 40 years later.
That's good of them.
Yeah, isn't that? They're kind of the Spanish there. 1895, Cuban War of Independence. And then in 1898, the Cuban War of Independence in 1895 was obviously against the Spanish. But this is where it gets quite interesting to me anyway, and this is important context for later as well, is that in 1898, the US main ship was destructed. Destructed? Is that the right word? But it basically, there's some, we don't know, or at least there is some speculation of whether US actually did this on purpose or it was Cuba who did it. Because, as we know, that they wanted to, there's ideas that they did it to then justify going into Cuba. Okay. Yeah. But either way, the US military main ship was destructed. That's its name, by the way. I'm not saying main. It's like Maine, like the state.
The state, yeah. What does it mean by destructed?
It was sank.
Oh, destroyed then. Why did you say destroyed?
I don't know. I had a brain fart, lad.
Yeah, all right.
So then that was where the US then got involved in the Spanish, and that became part of the Spanish American
Surely it's
War.
quite conclusive that a ship sinks.
No, it did sink.
Oh, so it's whether
It's whether the
Cuba
US
did it.
staged it or not. But
Yeah.
I think the general consensus is that Cuba actually did do it. But correct me if I'm wrong.
Is there any reason for this?
Any reason
Why
why
they-
America would do it?
No, why Cuba may have sunk this ship.
Well, because America's a huge growing power above them, and they're trying to fight the Spanish. So I don't think they wanted
Suppose, yeah.
America to get involved
Yeah, true.
as much. And I actually don't. I haven't looked into that specific thing in detail, just because we're trying to get through a lot in this. So
All right.
I don't know the answer to that. If we had our producer here on time,
I
we
know
could
that's
tell you.
what I mean. Chair looking a bit lonely.
It is. It is looking a bit lonely. The US then sent soldiers and slowly grinded the Spanish down with assistance. Stop it. All right.
Shoulders.
The US sent soldiers and slowly grinded the Spanish down with assistance from Cuban fighters. So they basically came in. Cuban fighters were already winning, by the way, and America sort of came in and went, "We're going to help you. We're going to liberate you. We're like taking credit for it," sort of thing.
Yep.
And in 1898, Spain surrendered, and Cuba
Yeah.
was meant to get their independence. Okay, and control went to the US to safeguard the Cubans whilst it got itself on its feet. The idea the US was like, "Oh, you've got your independence. We'll just make sure everything's fine while you get a government on your feet. Like, we'll just control everything that's going on in your country." So it was kind of the idea of this is the Cuban people just fought off to get their independence of Spain, which had ruled over for like how many, like almost 400 years, over 400 years, and America have come in at the last minute and sort of gone, "Oh, we did that, and now you're ours."
Imagine thinking you
Imagine-
defeated the Spanish.
Yeah.
And fucking Americans come in.
It's very sad, really. Basically, just replacing one colonial empire with another imperial body. So yeah, control largely goes to America. And in 1902, 40% of the sugar was owned by Americans, which is obviously a huge part of Cuba's economy. Just to give you an idea of the control America's had. The U.S. Platt Amendments, which that went on till 1934, meant that Cuba can't sign its own treaties. The U.S. can have necessary land if it wants land. They just got to give it them. They can't contract debt without guarantees, and the U.S. can intervene militarily if they want to. So basically,
sounds like another type of slavery.
it is, but it's just I wouldn't call it slavery. I'd just say it's another colonial settler that's bringing it in, but they're just not outrightly sort of saying it's part of America.
Yeah.
But they wanted control of it, and they wanted to use it for its resources and its economic benefits. 1940, Batista is elected. Remember that name, Batista.
Yeah.
And he was voted out in 1944. Well, the terms were only 4 years long, so he left after his term. And then in 1952, there was another election that he rejoined an election and wanted to, get elected into office, as you do when you join in elections.
Yep.
But during this, he decided to declare himself president as a dictator outside of the electoral process.
Why?
Because that's what he wanted power. He was thirsty
I
for
mean-
power. Why?
He's won twice, a bit greedy, isn't it?
Won once. He was trying to win a second time and decided he just did. But he was supported militarily and economically by the US. The US supported him. 70% of Cuban land was owned by the US and other foreigners. And he had press freedoms and had an anti-communist regime that was backed by the US. You know who else was running in the 1952 election? Fidel Castro. So,
Number one. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
yeah, but that leads us on to part 2, which is Fidel Castro and in more general, the Cuban Revolution.
The man,
I'm going to take a bite of my sandwich.
I feel like Fidel Castro is just not synonymous with Cuba. Like, think of Cuba, you think of vintage cars and Fidel Castro.
Well, it's interesting you say that.
Vintage cars?
Vintage cars, but also Castro. I understand why, and it's because he led the revolution completely. But this is why I think it was important just to give you context on Cuba before Fidel Castro.
Mhm.
Because Cuba is it's a history of colonialism and imperialism, and that puts into context why Castro.
Cadastro.
I think I mixed Gaddafi and Catastro there. Catastro?
Gaddafi?
Oh my god, I'm having a male.
Gaddafi.
Yeah. No, just in like name, I don't know.
Right.
So, part 2, Fidel Castro and the revolution. Okay. Fidel Castro was a lawyer and he was a candidate in the 1952 election before Batista declared himself president. And he mounted a legal case that was thrown out. So after,
Not a very good lawyer then.
well, he was fighting against, you know,
Joking.
a dictator. So he mounted a legal case that was like, you can't just declare yourself president, mate. It's against the Constitution. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
well, just did.
Yeah.
Pretty much is what Batista said to him. And Castro and his brother Raul began the El Movimiento, which means the movement. I don't know why I just didn't say the movement.
Yeah,
I
no.
should have just said the movement. And they
Can I
gathered
just say-
supporters displeased with Batista's regime and trained/armed them.
Raul Castro is such a better name other than Fidel.
No, but when you say Fidel
Exactly.
Castro, kid
Would have
named
been
Castro.
bullied in high school with that name. Come on. Imagine a kid called
Fidel.
Fidel. in
Here
class.
he would have, yeah, but Fidel.
Fidel.
Fidel
better.
is quite a lot better. I think
What
Fidel's
about
not
Raul?
better.
Raul. That's kind of sick.
Raul Jimenez. That's what my mind goes to, though.
Yeah.
Well, not that that's a bad thing, you know.
No.
I hope his head's all right and all that. Still, it's been like
6
10
years.
Only 6.
Yeah. It's in
Well-
COVID, weren't it? Because you heard it. David Luiz
Oh yeah, David Luiz, lad, bloody hell.
plays
Remember him?
for Paphos now.
What, in Cyprus?
In Cyprus, yeah.
Bloody hell. Maybe one day you get an episode on that. It's a very interesting place. Isn't that where
Cyprus.
yeah.
David Luiz.
No, David Luiz, you know. They attacked the group, the El Movimiento, the movement.
Stop, just say the
Um,
movement. Just say
They
the movement.
attacked the Moncada barracks in 1953 with the trained people, and it went dreadfully. And they imprisoned Castro and his brother. Okay? So clearly they weren't prepared as well as they thought they were. In Castro's court case, he cited why Batista's actions were illegal and famously said the words, I quote, La historia me absolverá, which means history will absolve me. I think it's quite a famous speech, apparently.
Well, is it true? Probably.
Well, that's a very controversial question, you know. Is that true or not? But certainly in the sense of he's fighting against a dictator and imperialism, yeah.
Yeah, but didn't he kind of
Well, we'll get on to that exactly,
Yeah.
but
can't beat them, join them?
not this again. I need to put that under the bloody title. It's our little slogan at this point, man. So he was sent to prison in that court case, and in 1955, Batista released all political prisoners due to mounting international pressure. Okay. Oh, look who's arrived! Look what the cat's dragged in. Well, don't worry about it, mate. The producer's here, so
Yeah.
well, yeah, that's why I put the seat for you there. So we're getting into Fidel Castro and the revolution here. It might be a bit cold, but
That's what happens when you turn up late. I was also late. So don't do it.
So 1955, Batista released all political prisoners due to mounting international pressure, and the Castro brothers exiled to Mexico to create a better movement. And then in Cuba, more groups were rising against Batista. Still, none was successful, but there was a growing movement against him. And they Fidel and Raul in Mexico, they started the M26-7 group, which is a catchy name, isn't it?
Yeah. Motorway, isn't it?
yeah, true. My favourite motorway, probably, actually.
Oh, God.
Birmingham.
Where's the M26?
Everyone goes through Birmingham.
Where's
don't
the M26 go from?
I ain't got a bloody Scooby, mate. If I'm being honest, my favourite's the M57 by far.
M6. Out of London.
No, I don't like the ones
Is
we
it
just
out of
watch.
London?
You know what I find funny? Like, all of them, I was thinking this the other day, like, every motorway makes sense. Like, it sounds good. It sounds like it belongs. Like M38. It sounds good.
Is that what you mean?
But no, but think about this M and all the teens. M18. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I
M37. But then
But where are they?
M24.
I've never been on it.
M6.
I've never,
M42 works. M13. Oh,
never been on a.
that is
Never
just
been on a motorway.
grim.
I feel like where it's M17 or 18.
Yeah, they start at 20 plus, don't they?
Yeah.
No, but that's
No,
that's
they
because
skip
of
the
where
teens.
we.
Top of the M1.
But
And
that's
the
just because
M6,
of
they
where we
skip the
live.
teens.
It's where we live, though, isn't it? I always thought that as a kid. I was like, M57 is like all the motorways are just like 50.
Yeah.
But then, obviously, like surely they start from. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked a bit here. They started the group called the M26-7 in Mexico with Ernesto Guevara, which is more commonly known as Che Guevara. He was a young Argentinian doctor. 82 men travelled on the Granma ship in 1956 to infiltrate the mountainous region in southern
I
Cuba.
could have gone to his house.
You could have gone to Che Guevara's house.
My family did, but I didn't. Because I wanted to watch the opening day of the
Where in Buenos Aires then?
No, it was
You
out.
went to
it
you
was,
went to university in Buenos Aires, I think, didn't you?
Did it? No, it was out of Cordoba. That
Mm.
they went. I don't know if it's in Cordoba. I think it's a bit away, but got a bit.
Why
of
didn't you go?
mustard. Why didn't I go? Other side.
All right,
mate.
Kendrick Lamar.
Other side. Because opening day of Premier League football.
Mate, you could have gone to Che Guevara's house and you watched Southampton versus Burnley. Pathetic.
It was actually Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest.
Oh, class, yeah. Makes it all worth it.
I mean, it was. I wasn't that interested in. I was
Well-
16.
It was an overpacked ship, and it was immediately ambushed when they arrived. Only 20 survived, but they did manage to reconvene in the mountains. So it was really bad. Again, first attempt. It just completely failed, to be honest with you. So not good for the Castro brothers. Again, there were other groups fighting at this time, such as the Directorio Revolucionario Estudiantil, which is something about students like in revolution. I don't know what it means, but
Can tell you didn't take Spanish. I don't know.
yeah, like the students for revolution, something like that. 1957, they attacked the presidential palace, but failed in a bloody shootout, which just sort of like enhanced Batista's power and showed that the revolution inside Cuba wasn't really going too well for the revolutionaries. And there was a bloke called Frank Pace, who he was killed, and it led to a general
Is he
strike
Spanish
and
or
brutal
Cuban?
repression. I ain't got a clue.
There's
mate.
no way Cuban.
Well, that's why I laugh, because it's probably not how you say it, but
Is
it's
it Paso?
Pais.
Oh, Pais.
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 Pais. Frank Pais.
Frank
Um,
Pais.
Bloody
Oh,
Frank
Pais.
Pace, mate. Bloody hell. But anyway, so he was killed, and that led to more general strikes and brutal repression of them strikes by Batista. And in 1958, the public began questioning the US support of Batista in the US. The public started, thinking, why are we, hang on, this guy's,
Side.
clearly an oppressive dictator, and we're supporting him. So
Yeah.
with public pressure, the US did switch support to the rebel groups supporting M26-7 and putting an arms embargo on Batista's regime, which was done through the CIA somehow.
This might have got covered before when I missed it, but was Batista US back?
He was US backed before this moment. Yeah, this is the switching point. So this just shifted the tide of the revolution. Operation Verano took place, which is Cuban army invading Siesta Maestra mountains to kill the M26-7 off. And they successfully got the M26-7 surrounded, and Castro actually waved the white flag and stayed there to try and pursue a truce. Okay, but secretly, while he was doing this, he was slowly in groups over the course of this 2 days, taking his troops out and away from the mountains, which is mental, isn't it? Really, like they literally had him surrounded, and for 2 days he managed to get all of his troops and out of the mountains, and then
How can you surround
I
someone?
honestly I don't know. I'd like to look more into the actual logistics of all
By the way, how big is?
but you
Cuba?
got to remember it's mountainous. I mean, it's pretty big in
It's
terms of
it's
like an
got
island.
mountains and shit. 'Cause it's an island.
Mountains are in the south, yeah, but it's like it's quite a narrow island, isn't it?
Isn't all the population like really heavily densely populated in like
The
Havana.
north, probably, yeah. Well, yeah, because I don't know how big the mountainous region is, but I know there's a lot
Yeah.
of that Siesta Maestra Mountains in the south, which is where a lot of the fighting took place. Is that still on? Yeah, just checking for a second.
When you're done.
Is that still on? Got eye problems, like it's bloody not on that. So Castro at this point had control of south of Cuba. Okay.
South. Okay.
And he sent rebels to the north to join other rebel groups to strengthen the movement, including Che Guevara. Okay. But there were some issues within the revolution at this point to note, where it was mostly about the role of communism. Okay. So, for example,
Classic.
the student group, which I'm not going to try and say the name of again, the students people, they did not support communism as they didn't. They
That
weren't on
actually
board with
surprised me.
communism.
Usually, communism like comes from the young generation, doesn't it? Really.
Well, yeah, I suppose. But I think they were just focused on revolution and they didn't want to. They just didn't. They weren't really into all that communism stuff, man.
Yeah.
Fucking good analysis. That. Why did I say it like that?
Analysis.
They worked together regardless, winning a battle in Santa Clara. Okay, which was sort of seen as one of the battles that completely finished it off. They ambushed an armored train and defended the loan. What? They ambushed an armored train and defended the town. Forgot to cross me T. That's what it is. So yeah, that was what happened in Santa Clara. And then Batista fled at this point to the Dominican Republic as a result, because he was like, oh, I'm finished here, you know. So as you do, you go to the Dominican Republic. And in 1959, Cienfuegos was captured in the north,
That's better.
and Santiago de Cuba surrendered to Castro's forces in the south. Che Guevara entered La Havana on the same day, and peace followed. So the revolution.
Fucking shy.
Bloody Che. Eh?
Bloody shy.
Bloody Che. Oh no, that's backwards. Forgot how notepads work for a second then. So that it's a good Cubano, says the.
Do you like pickles? I feel like. Yeah, I fucking love pickles.
I didn't. I don't know if there is.
Isn't pickle just chopped up? Like a gherkin, I feel like comes whole.
I think it isn't.
You've got a bit of the side.
You gotta get like you gotta take a look at something he says, but you got food.
Yeah. Fuck off, lad. It's all down there.
Talking about the bloody Cuban Revolution with mustard all over me.
Yeah, I don't know what the difference is there.
But
I don't think there is a difference between a gherkin, because think about it. You what you just said.
I don't think that. I'm saying
People
there
say
isn't.
that gherkins are on like Big Macs and that, and they're sliced. Everyone says gherkin, and they're sliced.
Is gherkin not just in America? Pickle not just in America?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, actually that's a good point. I don't
It
really
is.
think people say pickle here.
Because pickle is.
But isn't it funny that
pickle cucumber?
a pickle is just a pickled cucumber?
Well, yeah. So
Yeah.
I only went.
But you have, like,
maybe.
Maybe. I swear it might have been on Have a Word.
Maybe it was.
But like, yeah, pickled onion. We call it a pickled onion, but when it's a pickled cucumber, we just call it a pickle.
No, that
Is it like the first thing that everyone started pickling?
No, that's like Americans, though, isn't it? So they have
Yeah, but we
pickled
don't call it.
onions
We don't
over
call
there.
it pickled
Yeah, no,
cucumber. We call it a gherkin. So we've all just got our own name.
Because any food that you pickle, like you put in vinegar and you do the process of pickling, you call it pickled thing.
Yeah, because
So
it's
we should call
pickled.
it pickled cucumber. Really, if we want to get pedantic.
All right. Well, we've got pickled cucumber on our sandwich. Have a bit of that.
What else is in it? Just
Mustard.
Cheese, cheddar cheese, It's
Cheddar
not bacon, but
cheese,
it's like fried
famous
ham,
in Havana. Cheddar cheese.
mustard. I think it is cheddar cheese, or it might be
It's really authentic Cubano.
like just because Cathedral
some-
City do cheddar
and some
cheese doesn't
bread
mean that
from
they all
M&S.
like. Where cheddars come from? Cows, probably. When you think about it,
This is
So,
an intellectual
they
podcast.
probably have cows
Can
over
we
there.
get back to Shay
Yeah,
or
sorry.
Fiddle?
Well, but that is part 2 over with the revolution and Fidel Castro. So we are going to get on to part 3, the immediate aftermath. Okay, the US waited to see which side Castro would join because there was a big load of bloody suspense. Okay, Cuba's revolution's finally finished, and everyone's thinking. So, Castro's been this whole time against Batista, but like, what is he? What are his own political views? What does he want to? What does he want to do? It was kind of unclear because, I mean, a lot of people might just think that he was always a socialist or communist, but there are things that say he wasn't really. He was so focused on the revolution and stuff, people didn't know what his actual personal political views were. A lot of them, for example, Che Guevara said on Fidel Castro, he said that Fidel isn't a communist. Politically, you can define Fidel and his movement as revolutionary nationalist. Of course, he is anti-American in the sense that America are anti-revolutionaries. So it's this sense of idea of revolutions at the heart of it. There isn't this idea of, communism. And he might have, we don't know. I'm not saying he didn't have all these communist views and stuff before and this vision. But I think his politics was so focused on revolution that there was a lack of need for that. Everyone just wanted to get Batista out. So there was this idea that, which way is he going to choose, especially in this time is obviously the Cold War. They're sort of thinking, is he going to join communism or is he going to join the US?
Is Batista now out of the picture?
Batista's now out of the picture.
He's not going to come back.
He's not going to come back. I don't know whether he just got to live a happy life in the Dominican Republic or what, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Probably quite nice over there. No, doesn't matter. I'm not going to ask that. So Cuba, in terms of geographically, like how far?
90 miles from Florida.
Yeah, Key West. But is that?
Who's he?
No, that's.
Kanye West.
Not him. We can't talk about him on a politics podcast.
No, Key West is the place. It's the point.
Right.
Yeah, where you can see Cuba, but like in terms, is it part of the Caribbean? Would you say it's part of the Caribbean?
Yeah, it's in the Caribbean
okay.
Sea, isn't it?
Yeah, but
So
I think it's the closest island to America in the Caribbean.
yeah, no, it definitely is closest island to America.
Yeah.
But,
well, that's why America really didn't want it to turn to communism. But yeah, so there was this growing movement, but the idea was the general consensus was because the US supported M26-7 and Castro to do the revolution. The idea was, and he'd gone over to America and had talks and public appearance in America. And the general idea was, he's going to side with America. That was the thought process.
why didn't the US just leave it in the first place because they wouldn't have caused all that?
Well, that's we could say that about every sort of colonial imperial country. Why didn't Spain just leave it alone? Because they wanted its resources, because of greed, because of.
Is Christopher Columbus
Yeah.
Spanish?
He was,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
This is why we've got
He
a bloody
panicked
producer.
for a minute because he was
No,
like,
because he was like, is he Christopher Columbus Spanish?
I only thought that because no Spanish kid's called Chris,
Yeah, but everyone knows it was him who came over and
and
did all the stuff, didn't
and he also made. I don't think this is true. Is Colombia named
no.
Colombia because of Christopher Columbus?
come on, man. That is
I
a.
don't think so, but
By the way, I'm not. I don't know that.
What about-
It just came to my head.
What about
Yeah.
Colombo in I think it's Sri Lanka. There's a place called Colombo.
Oh, now everyone knows about
Yeah,
that.
sorry, yeah,
It's
that's
the capital city.
in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, or somewhere around there. Yeah, fact check for
Yeah,
me.
yeah. This is what you're here for, lad.
Yeah, this is what.
Right. So, 1961, the Bay of Pigs attack happened because obviously, as you all should know, Castro didn't side with America, and did end up getting close ties with the Soviet Union.
Wow, Cold War.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But so 1961, the Bay of Pigs attack happened.
Is it?
Columbia is named after the Italian navigator Christopher Columbus.
Oh no,
So we were flip it around.
He's Italian.
he's
You
Italian.
were right and you were wrong.
Hey, I'll take 50%.
Well, but wait, no. What's the capital of Sri Lanka?
Is this
No, because I think it's Colombo. There's a place called Colombo.
Oh, please don't be Colombo. Please don't be Colombo. If there's a god.
I'm not going to attempt that, but no.
Where's
Hey!
Colombo then? Because Colombo,
Okay, so it's the executive and judicial capital, so I imagine that's where like their parliament is and stuff like that.
Might be the old capital, the historic capital.
Sri Lanka has 2 capitals.
There you go.
Something in Hindi, I think. That's just what it says. It's not a guess.
okay, good.
It says something in
Okay,
Hindi.
So no,
How do you know what something
No, it's a
in
Hindi
no,
name.
it's Hindi words.
It's just a joke, mate. Bloody hell.
Yes, it's
God
Hindi
forbid
word.
a man try and...
The official
Crack a
legislative
joke.
capital where the parliament meets, and Colombo is the executive and judicial capital.
All right, so I was half right. Me half a point.
Yeah, we were both half
It's
right.
the biggest
Okay?
city in
Yeah.
Sri Lanka.
Put it there, but
And if we're
Um,
both half right,
together.
fully right.
2 wrongs don't make a right, though.
We weren't wrong though.
2 rights don't make a wrong either.
Yeah, all right. Carry
They
on.
make a right. So 1961 Bay of Pigs attack happens. You probably all kind of know about this. I didn't even do history for GCSE, so I didn't really before I started researching this. But
Just a monumental cock
just to
up.
go over it quite quickly. I mean, you'd probably be able to add because I only know the brief. But America, at this point in time they had done a coup on the Guatemalan government, so they had a US-backed dictator in Guatemala, and they used these Cuban exiles, 15,000 of them that came to the US, and they trained them in Guatemala. They trained them up to try and invade Cuba to topple Castro's regime, but they failed brutally. Right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong when I hear that?
Yeah, they
Anything else
failed.
to add?
Yeah, they failed massively. It's probably
yeah.
it signified. I think the lowest. That's the lowest point of Kennedy. I know Kennedy's short-lived in the presidential span of it, but that was the lowest point of his presidency.
I'd say the low point was when he got his head shot in.
No, well, that's not his fault though, is it? Whereas,
Never said it was his fault. Well,
whereas
some people might tell you other things. Not me. I'm not saying that. I don't know.
but no, that's like the lowest point of his presidency in terms of.
Yeah, but he got an airport though. JFK Airport.
He did get an airport,
You know, you win some, you lose some, don't you?
and he was apparently with Marilyn Monroe. Have you
know
not seen
what?
that?
You know
Have you
what?
not seen that speech that Marilyn Monroe sings "Happy Birthday" to Kennedy, and it's one of the weirdest things.
It's
ever.
probably like
Skylar,
Skylar, yeah,
she's
Skylar
in
and Breaking Bad. It's immediately what I thought of. Yeah. Oh, don't even. All right, where was I? Then 1962, a year after the Bay of Pigs attack, the Cuban Missile Crisis, baby. If you didn't know about the Bay of Pigs, then you will know about the Cuban Missile Crisis. So after the Day of Pigs, the USSR leader Nikita Khrushchev and Castro made a secret agreement to put. Hang on, I've just skipped over that. I've just skipped over the whole Cuban Missile Crisis. Sorry, my bad. That was a bit after, you see, because I just thought I could go off my head for this bit. But so what happened with the Cuban Missile Crisis? The Soviets decided to put missiles into Cuba. Why are you laughing?
Just a weird. They don't just put missiles.
Well, they kind of. Well, all right. Well, they helped them.
yeah.
They moved weapons.
Which, if you're America, would be quite scary.
Well, that's the whole point, yeah.
Why do America want this? They won't control Cuba because it's like a...
No, but that wouldn't have happened.
No, but they want control of them islands that are strategically important.
Yeah, yeah, I understand what, but like I'm saying, the way they went about it
Oh, yeah.
is why it's like a knock-on effect to all
Yeah,
this
but
thing.
It's a strategic place.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that'll be.
Strategic culture, one might say. Little eye Arthur, you out there.
But in terms of heightening, that's probably. I think Bay of Pigs is probably one of the highest points of the Cold War where it could have spilled over. And the Cuban Missile
The
Crisis.
Cuban Missile Crisis was
Yeah.
100% the
Yeah.
world's ever been. It's never been closer
What year
to
was the
nuclear war
Cuban
with that.
Missile Crisis?
1962.
I'd say Reagan years
It
were
was
close.
in October.
Reagan basically.
Not nowhere near as like. You know, this is like you can't argue against it.
Proximity,
Yeah.
Didn't you have, like, when they rolled tanks up to the wall in Berlin?
Yeah.
Is that a result of the I don't know if I'm skipping that.
Yeah, no, I think you might be right there. I don't have, I
That
don't
must be the
remember
peak of
research
the
that,
Cold War,
but I'm
where
pretty
both-
sure. Yeah,
both in East
Yeah.
and West Berlin, they roll tanks up and they sit there.
there
for
were other
24
moments we
hours.
might have been, but
Google when that was.
anyway, just to explain the Cuban Missile.
He's a
Crisis.
fucking producer and he's not got his.
Lad, let me explain the Cuban Missile Crisis to them, man. So the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Soviets moved
Don't say it on what.
missiles into Cuba which alarmed America. America were flying just spy planes, just on general
Reconnaissance.
reconnaissance.
That's why I'm here.
Thank you. With U2 planes, not to be confused with the band. But yeah, U2 spy planes came over and they discovered that Cuba were building these missiles, and they found out the Soviets were arming them, and they didn't like that, did they? So
Nope.
they were preparing for nuclear war to fight back, and Kennedy basically wrote letters, because in this days you had to like write letters and shit, and it was hard for him to get a message to Nikita Khrushchev, but he was like, you need to stop.
It's not that hard. They've got reconnaissance planes, and do you think
1962, lad.
they've got telephones?
I know, but they didn't have a direct telephone, did they? They do now. No, they do. But as a
They
result,
definitely did. Churchill was on the phone.
as a result, he's not from America. Mate.
No, but
After the Cuban Missile Crisis, the result of it, one of the major results of it, is there is now a hotline between the leader of well, obviously now Russia. That was a thing they did afterwards, because they were like, the communication was so bad. Yeah, was so bad that we need, for moments like this, to avoid nuclear war. They set it up, which is
right.
quite.
Have you heard that
good
story?
of them.
Have you heard that story about the Soviet guy that was in control of all like the nukes? Basically, he had the big red button, and basically,
I don't think it is one big red.
No,
button.
all right, but he had the
That
key.
would be insane.
He had the key to like basically like arm up, like explode all these bombs, right? And he got some fake, he got not fake, but like maybe, I don't know the ins and outs, but it's like he got a wrong message sent to him, but he doubted whether it was. So basically, he got a message and he doubted whether.
I
it was
think
true
I
or
heard
not.
something about this as well. Yeah, he was given or. Yeah, he was on it. No, I'm pretty sure I read up on this. I don't know why. I was pretty sure I put the notes somewhere, but they're not here. But it was pretty much one of the like mistaken signals, or someone and someone that he was with, one of the other commanders on the ship was like, no, let's hold off. Like he was like, we shouldn't do it, and he didn't do it, and luckily, because we're all here today. But Kennedy belled up bloody Khrushchev and was like, hey, like, get them missiles out of Cuba now, because that's like not on. Like, I'm scared. And then
It would be.
You would be scared, like. And then Khrushchev was like, nah, lad, I'm not moving them, lad.
Soviet officer Colonel Stanislav, his early warning system incorrectly reported that the United States had launched 5 nuclear missiles, and he disregarded the alerts as a computer malfunction rather than passing them up as a chain of command, which would have likely.
We should all know that man's name. Yeah. He should be.
Colonel Stanislav.
Yeah. Thank you, Colonel Stanislav.
Would that have affected Europe?
I think it would have affected the whole world, mate. The Cold War wasn't just
sprinkle a bit out.
It would have affected the whole world. The Cold War was obviously. But anyway, can we just get to the? So Khrushchev was like, "Nah, I'm not moving them missiles, lad. You can leg off." And Kennedy was like, "But lad, like," so he was like, "Lad, please, because I am gonna have to just like nuke you and that." So he was gonna nuke.
He couldn't nuke a fly, Kennedy. I feel like. I don't think he was.
Probably could, mate.
Well,
be a bit excessive force, though, I think, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so Kennedy then, the USSR came back and said, if you remove your missiles from Turkey, which the US had missiles in Turkey that were obviously quite close to the Soviet Union, then they said that they would remove them from Cuba. And they secretly met up the diplomats and basically came to the conclusion that they were going to do it. And 6 months, the US ambassador said, I think I've got his name here somewhere. The US ambassador said that they were already planning to remove the missiles and they would do it in the next 6 months. And Khrushchev agreed to it. And in the aftermath of it, in 1963, they made a hotline between the two.
Oh, okay. No, but they still had phones, didn't they?
They didn't have mobile phones.
They did telephones.
But between the US and Russia, in the Cold War, like, I don't think I think you're completely underestimating how like
the first telephone was in like 1980.
I don't care.
No, it was before that. Anyway,
But also, just to go back on it, the main height of the conflict, Cuba shot down, or I don't know if it's Cuba or the Soviet Union, but they shot down a US spy plane going over Cuba, and that is when Kennedy was like, we're fully preparing, and he sent them demands, and Khrushchev originally didn't meet them, but then he did come back and finally say, we can make a deal with the Turkey things. So that's basically the Cuban Missile Crisis, the closer that the world's ever come to nuclear war.
I just want to fact check on the hotline thing. So,
Yeah.
during the 10th Cuban Missile Crisis, encrypted diplomatic messages relied on commercial telegrams or radio, which took up to 6 to 12 hours to receive and decode, which was obviously
6 to 12 hours, that is, if you can't hear that. 6 to 12 hours in what? Telegrams and encrypted messages.
Yeah, so it was all encrypted, and it was through telegrams and radio, and then the hotline Washington, the Moscow-Washington hotline was established the following year in 1963.
Yeah.
To prevent that.
Present nuclear war. Yeah. The other thing, JFK did promise that the US wouldn't invade Cuba as part of the deal as well. And then after the crisis, 1962, obviously still to present day, the US has an embargo on Cuba, and the sanctions have had a profound impact on the economy.
they've always had an embargo on them.
Well, since 1962 they have.
Jesus Christ. Is that why I've got really old cars?
Yeah.
Well,
I
get into that.
I didn't realise it was that. Like, the embargo was constant throughout the period.
All them cars and stuff like that's what everyone thinks it's like. They always think of casinos and look at these old Cadillacs and stuff, but it's like there's so much more to it than that, and it's kind of represents a problem. But we'll get into that. Okay, 62 to 91, there was one communist party that ruled, and it was strengthened and entrenched by Castro over this time. He made education and healthcare public and universal. In the process with this, he also literacy rates were I think they were around 17% in Cuba, one of the lowest, and he made them universal in this time, pretty much everyone, which is pretty good. That's probably down to his education and healthcare being made public and universal.
Yeah.
Most industries were nationalised, as you'd expect. He also banned, there was a ban of political opposition, so there wasn't a party or anything, it was just one communist party, to be clear. I'm going to get into a bit of the economy now, and we might get into a bit of the Cadillacs that you so want to talk about. Post-World War I, with Europe rebuilding and prohibition introduced in the US in 1920, Cuba became a tourist hotspot. Okay, so it has been for a long time, pretty much a century. The
You can't
US
travel there at the moment. Or
well, no, you can't,
well,
unless you're delivering aid. But even then, you might get bombed by
Yeah.
the US. But we'll come to all that stuff. But yeah, the US businesses poured money into Havana, with casinos, hotels, and lavish lifestyles becoming increasingly popular. And though Cuba was only getting rich in the handful of the few, whilst sugar plant workers and slums were built, and people just struggled to live throughout Cuba. But it was getting richer in terms of, Cuba was getting richer because its infrastructure was getting built up, but the people who owned the infrastructure were mostly American.
Yeah.
So America was benefiting from it, not the Cuban people themselves. Inequality worsened and corporate colonialism continued under Batista. And then under Fidel Castro, wages rised, rent was lowered. He introduced agrarian reforms, where he reduced max land sizes and controlled farms through government. So basically all these large plantations that were owned by one person or one family or organisation were split up. There was a maximum land that you could have, and the rest of it was made government land to use. And the Soviets agreed to acquire 20% of Cuba's sugar cash. They paid for 20% of Cuba's sugar, and they paid that was for 5 years. They paid in cash, machinery, and oil as payment to that. we'll get on in a little second to maybe why that happened and the ties between Soviet Union and Cuba and why they got so close. Washington pressured Shell, Texaco, to not refine the oil in their Cuban refineries. So because it was Soviet oil being delivered and the companies that were refining them were American, America ordered them to not refine the oil. And Castro then decided to seize the refineries and nationalize them into public ownership himself. The US removed the sugar quota. So the US at this point had a sugar quota in which they would buy a lot of Cuban sugar, which was beneficial for Cuba. And Castro seized all of the US assets on the island after they removed that sugar quota. The US embargo then went on from 1962, so that's kind of the real reason that the embargo started.
Yeah.
But at this point, all of the US assets on the island, from sugar mills, banks to street shops, came into national ownership. Everyone was guaranteed a job in Cuba at this time. It led to lower production and overemployment and productivity sometimes. So because obviously sometimes it was everyone's guaranteed a job, but there wasn't maybe enough jobs to lower productivity because people had to come into work and they were like, if there's too many people, then some people are going to be like, well, I'm not doing it because I don't really need to be here, you know. So productivity was a big problem in terms of employment in Cuba. So the Soviet loaned a lot to them, and their trade kept supporting Cuba. Cuba joined the Soviet Economic Alliance, and wage scales and bonuses were introduced to help motivate workers at this point because productivity was so low and overemployment was a problem. So they did start to introduce a bit of wage differential and bonuses to offer financial incentive, because before that, the sort of incentive was more seen as for the country's purpose, we all can do that. That was the motivation it wasn't financial motivation in a capitalist sense. But they got to a point where they sort of felt like they had to change it. So they did introduce some bonuses and wage scaling. And then Cuba's golden age was created in the 80s thanks to some of these factors. Some of these factors. I think I meant some of the factors I said before. I ain't got any more factors for you, to be honest with you.
So nationalisation and all that.
Nationalisation and the agrarian reforms. They put, Cuba before this, as we were saying, such bad inequality and mostly for sugar plant that's not living well with low literacy.
Yeah.
The expanding of healthcare and education to everyone universally, everyone getting a job, obviously they're going to lead to
It's a bit like
lots of improvements in people's lives.
What we were talking about with Mexico last week, in terms of she's introduced universal healthcare, and with that she's lifted almost over 13 million people out of poverty in the last 6 years or so. It's mad how quick it can change. Obviously, it's above the poverty line, so they're not all now rich, but just
yeah. But all these people's lives did benefit. You have to not even. They just did benefit from a lot of what Castro did. Yeah. And then Cuba at this stage, even though it was having a golden period, a big issue for the Cuba, and the main issue and a lot of its downfall, was the over-reliance on sugar and the Soviet Union. Sugar prices were falling globally, and obviously the Soviet Union in 1991 disbanded, and their subsidies with it. So they were reliant on the Soviet Union. As soon as the Soviet Union ceased to exist, the economy begins to struggle. Just to give you an idea of the importance of Soviet Union in the Cuban economy, it's 100% of its oil was from the USSR. So, that's not sustainable. Not going to not. Well, yeah, especially not when the Soviet Union ceases to exist.
Yeah.
Now we'll move on to this special period in 1991.
Okay.
That's what it's called. That's not I didn't just give it my own name. That's what it's known as.
So you've gone from the golden years to the special period.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's called the special period, but it doesn't sound that special.
So which one's better? Because special and golden sound both pretty good.
Special ain't
Special
it's
ain't
not
that.
good. Not really. I don't think so. In this time, Cuba lost 35% of its economy.
Oh, okay.
So that answers that question, doesn't it? 85% of international trade was also lost. Huge food shortages broke out. Nutritional deficiencies caused 40,000 people to go blind. So I think the golden age was there. Blackouts were widespread, as they still are today. Reforms were made reluctantly from the sort of strict communist regime, where a limited private sector was allowed to bolster employment after government industries and industries shut down. So Castro reluctantly allowed the private sector to start to.
How can you
help it out.
reluctantly let one when you've got a nutrient deficiency causing 40,000 people?
Well,
to be what is the population of Cuba? Do you know?
I don't know.
Google it.
This is why we have a producer. He also legalized dollars for transactions in Cuba, which was huge. Because I mean, obviously, you can understand why he's reluctant to do that because they don't like America, right?
Yeah.
America have got an embargo on him, but
Yeah.
he felt the need and was pressured at this point with the economy going so wrong that he did need to legalize dollars. Foreign investment was legalized and encouraged for tourism, which succeeded in Havana with 340,000 in 1990 and 2 million in 2000 being raked in from tourism. So it did succeed in the tourist front.
Populations actually fell since the fall of the Soviet Union, so it was the sort of reached the peak of like 11.5 million in the 90s.
It's a lot more than I thought.
11.5 million in the 90s.
But now it sits at around 10.9 million.
Wow, that's quite
Not
interesting.
massively, but it's
Still, like I mean, with thinking about how populations obviously tend to increase, the decrease is even more.
Yeah.
Surprising.
Although-
But is it surprising when Cuba's going through such economic turmoil?
Probably not.
And I mean, people living there right now are struggling to live. So Cuba, Cubans became second-class citizens in their own country to American tourists, pretty much as well.
Current wave of emigration can also be to blame. So I imagine during the special
Yeah.
periods, actually went and no mistake.
Yeah. A lot of people would have left. I don't really. Maybe look up where they left to, where they tend
America,
to leave to.
sure.
Mexico, America.
This decade experienced slow growth compared to prior years due to severe economic hardships in the special period and a concurrent wave of emigration.
Try and figure out where that was to. But,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it'll be to surround there. I think a lot of it would be to Mexico.
Mexico.
In 2008, Obama was elected, and Raul took power from Castro. Castro got ill at this point, and he knew he couldn't live. But think about it: 2008 and Castro's revolution was succeeded in what 1960? Was it 1960?
It's good innings.
I mean, it's a long time.
It's a long, long time.
It is more on the nose. It's almost went to Miami.
So
So-
most of them did go to Miami. Yeah.
So during the economic crisis known as the special period, many fled to the United States. Most settled in Miami, spared by the 1994 Cuban raft exodus, which I imagine is that like a rubber boat situation?
That's what a raft is. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what, are they
Probably,
sailing
yeah.
over to-
I imagine
You-
so.
Yeah, it's not far at all.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
Still be. I reckon we'd find a way to. Well, we'd be dead, mate. If we had to
If
get
we did
on a
it-
raft from Cuba to.
If we did it, yeah.
yeah, but okay.
I think a lot of people would have died in that.
There's
one.
surely a captain, isn't there?
Depends how big of a raft we're talking about, isn't it?
No, but you might have one guy.
Well, the thing is, though,
And
I'm
then,
not
like-
gonna lie.
You can only fit about 10 people in a dinghy, can't
He
you?
was a
well,
busy
well-
man in that period.
I think a raft is like a raft could be pretty big, though, couldn't it? I reckon.
Yeah,
Fit more than 20 people.
it can.
It can. It
It
can.
can.
But like with smugglers and stuff, and people, they just
Yeah.
obviously it's not meant to, but they do. But they'll put more people on, and I reckon so. Anyway, this is all just hearsay.
Jack was also partial. Many went to Spain and Mexico and then sort of surrounding.
Spain, that's a long raft ride, isn't it? Bloody hell!
They might have been the slightly better one.
Yeah.
I think they might have. But yeah, Spain, Canada, Mexico, and then the Bahamas and other Caribbean countries.
Makes sense.
How many emigrated?
So yeah, Raul took power over from Castro in the same year that Obama was elected, and Obama was good for Cuba. He in the course of his term, he restored diplomatic
Relations.
relations with them. He also weakened the embargo. The thing is, the embargo is like constitutional in America. It's there. It's so hard to change. So he couldn't just. I mean, also public opinion and stuff. I'm not sure, but he wouldn't have been able to just get rid of it at that time. It was difficult, too difficult for him to do. But he did do a lot of things that benefited Cuba, and with diplomatic relations, especially, was Obama was, I think, welcomed in, but from Cuba. But
Yeah, so during the 1990s, over 35,000 Cubans constructed rafts.
why'd you sound like that?
Yeah.
It's quite a throw.
Mickey Mouse.
Deep voice. They constructed homemade rafts using inner tubes, wood, and scrap metal, and other sort of
Inner
resources.
tubes. That's a thin raft.
But it is actually really interesting. So the rafter policy that it said, to diffuse political tension, Castro ordered his border guards to step down. So previously, that you weren't
Wouldn't-
really allowed to
yeah.
leave unless it was
Yeah.
permitted, like work, travel, or whatever. So you know, to anyone who wants to leave the island could do so freely.
I suppose again that's another example of Castro sort of realizing that he's got to sort of not be so ideological, because he was kind of forced to.
It sounds like for a socialist leader, he was more open to.
Communist.
He was, but I think he was very reluctantly.
Very reluctantly.
I don't. Yeah, it's not.
So I don't know about that whole communism socialism thing, because it wasn't like
It doesn't sound
Marxist
like
communism. It wasn't like
It's
what
not.
communism.
No,
you know what I
but-
mean? It
From
was
I don't think
largely
when your country,
socialism.
he obviously struggled a lot, and I know there's exterior factors, but
Hmm.
you can't be reluctant to change stuff when you've got such big problems as a nutrient deficiency, especially when they're.
That doesn't make him a communist, though.
No, I'm not saying, but it's his policies that severely impacted that. Whether or not the embargoes and obviously that was another factor, but you've got to react.
Well,
Like,
he
you-
has, but he also did.
Yeah, but
He might have been reluctant, but he did do it.
To be fair, it was kind
To his
of all built on
ideology.
sand anyway. They weren't self-sufficient. They had all
Exactly.
the backing from the Soviet Union. So I mean,
But the thing is,
the good years, the golden years that you're talking about. I mean, everything's going well, but then as soon as that
exactly, it was a false. It was never going to last. But the thing is, it's like a lot of people will point to Cuba and say this is why socialism or communism, whatever you want to call it, doesn't work. But to play devil's advocate and refute that, I would say that, as we're saying, it did a lot of good things. There's no denying that it helped a lot of the people living in Cuba.
yeah, like the literacy rates, and stuff
Literacy
like that.
rates, education,
Yeah.
healthcare. Cuba has the most per capita doctor rate. Most loads of people there are doctors. They have the best healthcare in the world. They're doctors. They emigrate. That's the main force of immigration. They give wherever there's gold. They're leaders in donating doctors and doing stuff. Healthcare is one of the main part, and clearly shown. There's obviously good things and there's obviously bad things. Communist one-party dictatorship, political oppression. There wasn't a democracy or anything. It was Castro's way or no other way. So I'm not. But there are two sides to it. But as I was saying, also, the reason it sort of failed with the economy and just more in general was largely down over reliance on the Soviet Union. But it's because America almost saying that, I'm not saying that Cuba would have worked in socialism and communism, would work in Cuba, but to say it sort of just failed on its own is a lie, because it failed because America made it fail. They succeeded in making it fail.
Yeah.
So we don't know, if it would have.
I personally just struggle to come to terms with someone so authoritarian and obviously political oppression. To he made sure that there's no opponent.
Yeah.
So it was his way. You can't really run a socialist or a communist regime when it's only him that makes these decisions. Do you know what?
It's sort of an oxymoron,
It's
though,
it
isn't
is because
socialism doesn't
I
want-
guarantee
Everyone's
you that
equal, but I'm above you all.
Yeah,
sort of
exactly.
thing.
It's pointless from the start if you go with that magic. You can't run a regime like that.
Yeah, but I'm also just pointing to the fact
Yeah.
that it didn't just fall from within; it also was external. So, and there were good things that came out of it. There's a lot to learn from it. Obviously, I'm not supporting any type of dictatorship. I'm just trying to say that, as much as that was a problem, his policies, a lot of it, there's a lot we can learn from it.
It'd be
today.
really interesting to see
Which good.
sort of it'll be our parents' generation of what they think of Castro.
Yeah, I'm not sure how good the thing is. I'm not sure how good the education is on it or media was in it back
Well, it'd be censorship, I assume.
well, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of it will be,
But-
you know,
But obviously, censorship only controls a certain point because they would obviously know about the outside and also the nutrient.
But it's also the
deficiencies,
irony of
but-
America to sort of be like, okay, we're going to support Batista, the dictator who oppresses the people, and then they switch to then support Castro because of public opinion. But then obviously, when Castro's a dictator, they didn't want to support him all because it was communism. But America hasn't got a problem with supporting dictatorship only when it goes against their beliefs in communism because they have such a hatred towards communism, not dictatorship. They don't like
there's a
communism.
similar thing going on in El Salvador at the minute because it's.
They were always going. I swear they were always kicking off there.
No. El Salvador at the minute has now become it's one of the safest countries in the Americas.
Well, that's
It's
where
really
I've been
interesting.
bought. This is the thing with media, folks.
No. It's not. It's not the way he's done it. Is not. He's created prisons. This El Salvador.
It's just imprisoned everyone.
He's just literally imprisoned everyone.
All right, well,
And it's
take it back.
really harsh conditions. There's a documentary on it. It's actually quite good. But anyway, he called himself the most popular dictator in the world, and then he's like Trump's best mate, basically. Again,
Shock
so-
horror.
That's the thing, though. They
American Trump. Sorry, I just brought in American Trump. Trump, especially now, it's never been more evident to see how much Trump admires dictators. When he's over at China, and you can see, even with Putin, you can see that Trump, I think, wishes that he had that power. He could just be a dictator. He wants to run for a third term. He incited riots against the government. He said he'd be the best communist ever.
This is what has happened in El Salvador. So you could only, when he came in, you could only run for one term. He repealed it, so now you can run for two. So he's in his second term, and now he's repealed everything, so you can run unlimited amounts of times. So he's
it's not even like trying to hide it. Though.
Yeah,
That's just
but
pure-
but then this is the thing: is ratings constantly have never gone below 70%. So it's because there's been this mass cleanup on the streets, and it's now a level 1 country in terms of in safety from America. So America level it basically. I think Britain's level 2. So El Salvador are level 1 and the UK are level 2.
Yeah, it's
This
just
is
a
how-
flawed metric,
I,
isn't it?
Britain might not be level. Britain might be level 1, but it's
I've never even heard of that, to be honest with you. But yeah, to go back to Obama restoring diplomatic and helping out Cuba and restoring diplomatic talks with them. When Trump came in, basically reversed every good thing he did for that.
Yeah.
He enhanced the embargo that is still going on today. There's some allowances of food and medicine, but also the US to lead on to today to finish off where this conflict or sort of tension is today. The US still has its embargo on Cuba. Not only, but it also has sanctions on other countries and other businesses for doing business in Cuba. So it's not just the fact that Cuba can't get stuff from America, it's the fact that no one wants to trade with Cuba because they're scared that they're going to get bombed. America have been bombing random ships who they don't know are in the Caribbean Sea. Trump has ordered loads of, they've just been bombing ships and they don't know who's on it. They're just using their assumptions.
well.
And that's also to do
So
with drugs as
You
well.
talk. You
But
talk about.
it's just lies.
You talk about embargoes. So Obama never officially lifted the embargo.
No,
on
but
Cuba,
he did like, I think he expanded things that could
Okay.
trade with Cuba in general.
Didn't- Was it you that told me this, or did I just say in the news? Didn't Trump say, "I think I should take control of Cuba now"?
Well, this is what I was going to lead on to. To
Sorry.
quote Trump, he said, let me make sure I get this right. But I'm pretty sure he said, "I'm going to have the honor to take Cuba," which is quite harrowing, really. The fact that
Quite an authoritarian thing to say.
Well, very yeah, of course it is, but it's sort of just like, it's horrible to think that, I mean, America getting involved in 1898 with the Spanish War of Independence for Cuba, and now we're here in 2026 discussing the American president saying that he thinks he's going to be able to take Cuba.
Yeah.
Is that not just a full circle sort of thing of like, how far have we come?
But it feels like,
Not very far.
honestly, it's quite a sad
Because the people who lose from this are the Cuban people.
Yeah, and it's a sad way to think that Cuba has never really had
It's yeah.
full control or autonomy over themselves.
No, apart from when it was only tribes, which
Yeah,
is ages ago. But
since 1898, like they've
since
literally
1492,
yeah.
they've been controlled by Spain, America. They've just been puppets. And even when after the revolution with Castro, he improved lots of things. There's lots of obviously a controversial character, but there was political oppression, and Cuba obviously the economy was bad, and it led lots of people to fled, as we discussed. So the people who have lost from this are the Cuban people. There are still also travel restrictions, massive travel restrictions. You're not meant to go to Cuba. Also, when you do go to Cuba, if you stay in certain hotels, there's like hotels that you can stay in and you can't. If you do, then you can be prosecuted for it in the US. If you stay in a hotel in Cuba, you can be put in prison.
My parents went to Cuba.
Pretty sure.
They spent a week in Havana and then a week in like a resort type place. So I think the resort thing, this was like 20 something years ago, so it would have been like where in America had again private ownership just reinstated, but it was resort, and then Havana's meant to be really like really cool.
But they go as tourists. Like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
I know like a lot of like trade unions and stuff, because my auntie went
Yeah.
to the teachers union and stuff like that. So I know a lot of the travel that goes there is like organised.
It's their honeymoon, I think. I think it was my parents' honeymoon. Went to Cuba. Yeah.
Very in tune with that.
Yeah.
That's based.
If you want a little talk about their economy, so now actually the private sector and private money outweighs the like the state funds basically.
If you couldn't hear that, the private sector outweighs the public sector.
Yeah. That could be a problem actually. Every single time you said something, we don't know if they've been able to hear what Marcus said.
Well, I've tried to reiterate.
Yeah.
Will, and I've tried to reiterate.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do need to get them.
Punctuality is a problem, but we can work on that.
We did.
But the thing is, so like I said, private sector outweighs public sector now, and there's a lot of private money going through Cuba. But the majority of the entities funding Cuba's economy is the countries that you think. So you've got what's that block called of Brazil, India? What are they called?
Yeah.
South American bloc.
No. It's like America, not America. Brazil, Russia. It's like
Russia. Eastern Bloc.
It's the opposite. It's the opposite to like NATO, innit?
Yeah, it's like
not NATO.
Like the
EU.
It's not like the G5. It's like the opposite.
Yeah.
It's called BRICS. I knew that.
BRICS. Yeah.
BRICS. Oh, BRICS. Yes, I do remember learning about this in geography actually.
Brazil,
Colombia.
Russia. Sorry.
I don't know who and South Africa. So
Is it
China?
India?
Yeah, China.
India.
Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So
Yeah.
a lot of their funding comes from them, specifically Russia and China.
Yeah.
And a little bit from the Middle East, which makes sense. So there's a lot of private equity going through Cuba.
Yeah.
So it shows how far it's come along from
It is.
the 1990s.
I think it's very fascinating, and also like I'd love to visit it sometime, but it's so fascinating to see like such a country that's been under communist regime, and yet with the tourism from America and with the necessities, you go to Havana, and I mean I'd love to ask your mum and dad about it, but with as people know, like with the Cadillacs, the casinos, the hotels, it feels a very American capitalist place. And then you can go to other places in Cuba and you can really see the socialist side.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of an oxymoron of a place in itself.
It's the same as any of them.
It's fascinating.
Social states. It's the same with Russia. Like most of their economy is built on private equity, but if you go and look at certain towns and stuff like that, you will see that
There's a disparity there.
You might-
A dichotomy, if you will.
You might know it. You know me gaff when you go up the stairs and you got that painting.
You know me gaff from dichotomy to, you know me gaff, you know me upstairs.
But you know when you go up the stairs and that's painting up the stairs. Do you remember? Do you know?
I haven't memorised all your paintings, as you've got too many. But yeah, is that the Cuban one?
That's the Cuban one. Yeah.
Well, I'll have a look
It's
at
a
it.
bit abstract. Anyway,
Listen, man, you just don't understand art.
I don't understand art. I'll put my hand up and say I don't understand some art. Yeah.
Not all of it. Sometimes I can. Sometimes. So,
I just throw paint to the canvas.
no,
There was
I agree
one.
with that.
There was one that was like no. So it was a set and it was a messy bedroom.
Yeah, that's
It's
so many arguments.
that's auto woke nonsense, if you will. If we're going to use that term for where it should be used, that's what it should be
This
used.
is like a neutral podcast, but we can back that.
yeah. Abstract art. It's not. That's not controversial though.
It's not.
It's controversial to be for it. I
Yeah.
think.
The word woke should be used to describe things like that, not
I agree.
not
You're just leaving your bed unmade.
gay right. to put it frank. They're not woke. They're
No.
good.
Took a turn
To
from
be clear.
abstract.
Put that on-
I think we now are
Yeah.
controversial.
Put that on some merch or
Uh,
something, bro.
right,
Well, with that, we should wrap this up.
Yeah, next week, carrying on the communism, really. Or the war on communism, Vietnam War.
Oh,
We're gonna focus on.
You coming for that one as well? You've got it. That
Yeah.
sounds good. That.
And I'm not decided whether we'll do Vietnam outside. We'll do the after effects, obviously, but Vietnam Day and all that. But yeah, Vietnam.
With that, this is the end.
You did that last week. Is that gonna?
No, I didn't, did I?
Yeah, I think you did.
Well, I did it this time because the doors and that.
Uh,
I'm going on to Vietnam.
we
That-
are
that's
going on
the
to
point.
Vietnam.
That's a really good pop culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And we're opening the door. from
Fortunate
this
Son
podcast
will be
to
the
next.
intro next week.
That's a good. Do you put intro music in?
No, but I
will.
think we should make one. That'd
He
be
was
cool.
like, "We're gonna get copyrighted." Oh yeah, because fucking
No,
all,
but
all the viewers.
what
are
about when we
watching.
pop off inevitably? Because this has to pop off.
Yeah.
There's no way it doesn't. So.
Yeah, there's no way.
I'm manifesting it, bro.
All the 300 viewers, they'll appreciate the Fortunate Son reference.
Yeah.
Vietnam.
Exactly.
An anti-war Vietnam song, which ironically is now used by Republicans
Also,
to
another fun fact about
warmonger.
that is the guy who the lead singer in CCR, he actually avoided the draft as well.
Yeah.
The only difference is because he's not senator's son.
Wow.
Yeah. So he
I ain't no
avoided the draft.
senators.
And famously, who else had avoided a draft? Big boxer.
Ali.
Yeah, Muhammad Ali.
Wasn't that on the ground?
He's a
that
good
was
boxer, though,
accused
wasn't he?
of doing stuff though?
I think he got thrown in prison. Yeah, he did. He got stripped of
thought
all
he-
his titles and everything.
Oh, I thought he just avoided the draft because like
No.
he was a national treasure.
No.
Anyway,
Uh,
Well,
waffling now, aren't we?
yeah.
Tune in next week for Vietnam. Peace and love and prosperity to y'all.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.